Alright, Boss Rush 460 Day 3. So this is going to be a Khadgar Medivh Genn build. I'm only running 5 mercenaries here because I have a high enough level artillery strike that by the end of the run, this will upgrade to 400, so I only want 2, but normally you're going to want a 3rd artillery strike mercenary here. You may also want to use 2 greens instead of Rogers, because the highest health boss that's not Chromaggus at 400 is going to be Undead Onyxia, and green helps a bit with reaching enough to kill her. So the only required mercenaries are these first 4 here, and then you can use kind of whatever for the other 2 artillery strikes. For Bwonsamdi, it's just a normal arena contender, and honestly, you could even use other equipments, but we're going to kill off our mercenaries, so we don't really want anybody coming back to life. You could use that as like a backup or something, though, if you needed to. Normal Blizzard equipment. We're using the Unstable Rune here. I've experimented with the other equipments because you don't really have to have a counter ward, but it does make it easier. So we're going to go ahead and use that, and then you need the heal here. And for Rogers, I'm using Ship Spell, but I've never actually used her in combat, so it doesn't really matter. And the same thing for your greens. Edwin is probably a good choice, and then Voon, or you could even use Eudora if you wanted to. It shouldn't really matter. So let's go ahead and get into the bounty here. So I have rank 15 on every upgrade on these characters, with the exception of Bwonsamdi, who just has 15 in his nukes. And I have 100 heal on Genn, and a rank 20 Blizzard, Genn Summon, and the Medivh birds are also rank 20. So you can do this with a bit less, but if you're below some of these breakpoints, you might need to either re-roll for low blue attack anomalies, or you might need to lower your boss rush level to farm more consistently. So turn 1, we're just going to bounce, Hearthfire, taunt the Bwonsamdi, and counter ourselves. So this gives us attack immunity on the Bwonsamdi taunt. That covers our Hearthfire turn so that Khadgar can start rooting. And then for the rest of the game, Khadgar is basically just going to spam Blizzard every turn, with a couple exceptions at the end when we're trying to set up our own characters to die. And then after the bounce here, we bring out Genn, Khadgar, and Medivh. And I usually position like this just to make it easier to go through the things that I'm doing actions on, but I don't think the positioning really matters. So our goal here is to get out 2 birds. We're going to summon taunts every time that we can. And there's typically a Khadgar that goes off in between the summon from Genn and the bird. So in this case, we only have 1 empty board slot. We're going to summon with Genn. Khadgar is going to kill that summon, and then we're going to summon a bird in that same slot. We're going to not counter ourselves because he's using the 1 speed here, so that's going to get countered instead. If he was using a slower attack, we would go ahead and counter ourselves here. And then our goal is going to be to kill off both of these counter wards here before too long. So again, we're just spamming Blizzard, and you want to just focus down one of these blues, rather than trying to like damage them evenly so they die at the same time. We want to get one dead as soon as we can. On this turn, we're going to try to get rid of one of these wards, and these wards, if you say counter one of them and then attack with the other, they do get healed by Genn's passive, because 0 is an even speed. And we're also going to have to counter ourselves here. So since we're going to lose this to Khadgar, we're going to not attack with it, the second one. And then we're just going to nuke here. And countering those 1 speed taunts from Yasharj is, or Yasharaj if you prefer the old pronunciation. Blizzard's kind of waffled on how they say it over the years, but by countering that 1 speed, whenever the wards are still out, it delays him being able to use his 2 speed attack, which is convenient. That's one of the things that makes it sketchy if you don't bring the counter wards at all. So again, Blizzard every turn, summon every time you can, and we want 2 birds. And then we're just going to nuke here, and going to not counter here. And that Magora should go off. Just like before, we only have 1 empty board slot. That Magora will clear the taunt in between. So now we just want to get rid of that last counter ward, and then we're just going to be in a cycle of summoning Genn taunts in that last slot, while blizzarding everything to death. And all the nukes just go on whichever target you're trying to kill. And then on these in-between turns like this, you can choose to either taunt, or you can boost the damage of your birds with the Arcane Rift. And you're typically going to want to do the Arcane Rift on the rightmost bird because it'll have a higher scaled attack. As you can see here, this one has 1 more scaling than the other, so you'll need to reverse their order when you're issuing your actions. And we're going to have to counter ourselves here. I usually look at the little speech bubbles that say like first, and if it's on my side, then I counter myself. If it's on their side, then I let them get countered. And there are some scenarios where, so like say that last turn, because these do have a pretty high attack, if they had both used Magora and there was a risk of Khadgar dying, I may have wanted to taunt my Genn instead and make him take the hits, because his health here is high enough to tank these hits. Some of the other comps that people are running would just retire and restart at this high of an attack anomaly on the blues, but this comp is perfectly capable of beating a lot of these higher ones. And we never summon a 3rd bird because we need that slot to make these taunts. And so at this point, you're only going to use your taunt in like an emergency situation where you're trying to like prevent a death. Here we have a taunt being summoned, so we don't need to worry about this hit. So we can go ahead and just maximize damage here. And I'm too lazy to do the math to see if that's going to die, if I need to like target the 2nd bird over here or something. So it worked out. We didn't overkill it and then have that go on a random target. And it does get simpler once one of them goes down. The potential 2 speed from charge is less risky, and there's less incoming damage from like double Magora turns and all that. So this is going to hit for, so I just moved the, this is going to hit for the 243, so we'll be fine regardless of what target it hits. I could taunt this turn. I think I will, just to be safe. But you could just nuke here instead to get more damage. Get that bird crit for an extra 235. So he is using the 2 speed here. So this is a bit of an unfortunate outcome. This typically does not happen. In this case, they only gain 19 attacks, so this will be like 221, and this will be 262. So one of them hitting Khadgar would be fine. We can't really do anything before the 2 speed goes off, other than transforming Genn, which would be bad, or I guess we could do a Khadgar heal, but it wouldn't be enough to make him survive a double hit. Same thing, we could do a Hearthfire, but we're just going to Blizzard instead. And you just have to hope for the best in this circumstance. There's not really anything you can do to make this better. This is very uncommon though. I think this is the 2nd time he's ever cast the 2 speed with one of the ads still alive. So we lost our ramped birds, which obviously is better than losing Khadgar or Genn, but we are going to have to take a bit more time on this run and get new birds out and get them ramped so that they can kill off our mercenaries effectively. So this does like 110, and we need to start getting new birds out. I guess I could have just shot your shards there, but at this point we're kind of just stalling to get our birds ramped up enough so that they can clean up our own mercenaries so we can get artillery strike gods at the end. And from here you just need to make sure you have one taunt up and then spam Blizzard every turn. So you can do a little bit of extra damage here, or you can prep your guys, your other humans here to die. You are eventually going to have to chew through like 1800 of this HP, so some damage on the boss is still good here. So the goal here for our setup is that we want to have birds ramped, and we want to have our Medivh and Khadgar low enough to die to a single bird attack. And then we're going to do a bird attack on Khadgar. Then we're going to summon a bird with Medivh to replace his slot, and then we're going to kill Medivh with the other bird. So that'll leave us with one empty slot to bring out Bwonsamdi. Then we'll shoot Bwonsamdi with the bird, and then finish off Yasharj with the other. And we'll have no more roots available at that time, so that's why I want these birds ramped, rather than just going ahead and trying to push it prematurely. So my typical targeting here to do these turns quickly is I'll shoot something with Medivh. It could be one of my own guys, or it could be the boss. And then I'll use that crit with the larger bird to damage the boss, and then I'll use the smaller bird to damage one of my own characters until they're all set up and ready to do the transition. And I don't want to do too much more damage to the boss, because we do need... he's going to take like 120 damage a turn from the blizzards, so I don't want to get him low too quickly here, since we're having to take extra time to re-ramp. This would already be over if I didn't have the 2-speed go off and kill these birds. Alright, we can go ahead and get a bit more damage on him. And these... let's see. Don't really... yeah, I don't want him to take both hits, so we're going to do it this way. Medivh's health's not quite high enough to survive both birds, and you do have to also pay a little bit of attention to the 10 HP passive debuffs from Yasharj that he puts on your characters. So if you get them super low, they might end up getting finished off by one of these small hits. You do have like Hearthfire and some options to correct that though if you make a mistake. So we do want him low enough to be finished by the birds. This should be fine here. These are ramped enough where we should be able to finish him off just fine. The risk here is if you don't get him low enough, he can end up, when you no longer have the ability to root, he can defiled attack and end up like hitting all your characters. So you want to have enough damage on your birds to finish off your guys and then finish him off afterwards, but without accidentally killing him with roots. Do we want to go this turn? So we'd go here, here. Yeah, I think we'll be fine. So I'm doing this wrong. So this needs to kill him. That does do enough damage, and then you summon a bird. Also, when you summon this bird, he's going to be healed by the Genn passive, so in this case he's going to go to 161, so this needs to do at least that much. And I do these turns a bit faster when I'm playing by myself, but having to explain everything slows me down. And then here with Bwonsamdi, we usually use his third ability on the boss to get some extra damage in when he dies to the bird. So we'll do that. And I have mine at rank 15, so it does 190 damage. It's a pretty decent chunk of damage. And you want to make sure you use a bird that does enough damage here. So in this case, I'm going to shoot here, and then that will ramp this to 267. So most of the time these birds will be doing a lot more damage than this, but and I'm actually gonna, no, you don't have to swing, it doesn't matter. So this should be enough to kill him. Ideally, you know, 350, 400 damage bird hits here would make this simpler, so I didn't have to think so much about it or worry about him potentially surviving. But that's the fight, and that's with a pretty bad roll and the 2-speed getting off, which is an uncommon occurrence, at least in my experience. And then you just have to hit artillery strike, and we didn't, so this is a loss. We don't have the ability to fight Babbling Book, so it's a 75% chance to win, and this is the 25% where you don't. So let's go ahead and do another one quicker. And I won't have to explain so much, so I'll be able to play a bit faster on this run. So as you can see here, this is another little bit anomalous run where the attack value is very high. You can just retire these runs. You saw my Medivh got really low there, but I'm going to go ahead and play this one out and see how it goes. This is a very high attack value. This is not common for them to do this high. And that turn, he actually didn't use a Khadgar at all, which is also very unusual. And he's going to use this and kill off one of them. So this run is not even really a great representation of how this usually goes. I guess we'll damage this one in case... and they're not killing the counter horde, so yeah, this is a very strange run. I've never seen this sequence before from them. In about like 20 runs or so. Yeah, I decided to split damage here because I don't know which one he was going to use the ability on. It seems like he tends to use it on the higher health one or the one on the right more frequently on my runs. So maybe I should just nuke the lower guy on the left. Oh, and he's doing it again. So he's probably going to use the 2-speed after this. I would like to get another summon out here if I can. I don't know if I can. Yeah, this is a very unusual run. What I'm gonna do is taunt this just in case he targets it, and that way this taunt might be alive for a 2-speed from your charge. But even if he uses the 2-speed, it's not going to kill anything, so I don't know that I even really care. Because the blues had high attack, but he didn't. Alright, so that worked out perfectly. And now this will die, and then even if he uses the 2-speed, it's going to smack a taunt, and now we're in the final phase. It is very strange to not be able to get out like a second bird by now and have all these different sequences and higher damage happen. He didn't use the 2 anyway, even though I think the cooldown's available, so maybe he just has like a 50-50 or a 1 in 3 to select it, even if it's available. I can start actually working on these guys a little bit. Do have one ramped bird, but that's probably enough to get through this. Just to be a little careful with the HP values at the end as we clean up our own guys. And I don't usually worry too much about just like spamming Blizzard versus using Archmage Nova. The extra hit points that he picks up, or that all your characters pick up from that, are easily offset by the damage that the birds do, so I don't really worry too much about that. So we should be getting close to our transition here. Yeah, we're ramped well enough here, so we just need to... Okay, he's going to swing in, so we're going to make a new taunt when he does that. So he's going to take 110 there. And then we'll go ahead and just do a Blizzard here, so that's like 230-ish. It's like 430-ish. So I don't want to use this. And then we'll go ahead and... go next turn. I'm actually going to hold this one back as well. We'll just like damage him a little bit. And this is going to heal these with the human buff, but we should have enough scaling here that we don't have to worry about it. That little Medivh nuke just did a tiny bit of damage, and then we got some more scaling on our birds, which makes the transition easier. Alright, so we don't even have to Blizzard here. We can if we want to, just for a bit extra damage. And then we'll just go ahead and whittle him down a tiny bit. And then we'll do our damage here, our summon, and our damage here. Sequence is always nuke Khadgar with one bird, summon a new bird, nuke Medivh, and make sure you've got enough damage to get through the Genn heal. And then we do our Binding Contract and kill Bwon, and then finish him. And hopefully we'll hit artillery this time. So for most of you guys, you'll just need one to get through the first boss, and then you'll need to find a second one before Chromaggus. And you'll have 3 mercenaries to do that. In my case, I have 392, which means that through these next 2 fights, it'll be double upgraded. Since I'm only running 2 artillery marks, they'll always be selected as the treasure choice. And then it'll be up to 400 by the time we fight Chromaggus, so this is already a win here, even if I don't hit the second one. But I know most of you guys will not have this high of an artillery.